Welcome to VCR, Vintage Cinema Rewind. We're bringing old movies to new viewers. I'm Blake.
And I'm somehow escaped being riddled with bullets.
And never reloaded once.
Never reloaded once.
Because we're talking about Hardboiled from 1992.
That's right. It's John Wick before John Wick.
Yes.
And somehow even less chill than John Wick.
And this is the deep dive, so if you've never seen this movie, and we highly recommend it, so go check out the primer episode, although we just basically summarized it with you should watch this movie. So
that's why we get paid the big bucks. I
just saved you 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I will say that a slight aside here, I feel like we're having like our generational run this year.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's been like a bad movie that we've chanced across once.
Well, and I think part of it is you and I have both kind of identified movies that we like at this point, and we're pretty good about like being like, you know what, that's the one kind of thing. Whereas there has been occasionally times where we've done maybe something a little bit more pretentious, maybe.
Yeah, we're just like, ew, no,
yeah,
get it out of here.
Doesn't always land. But yeah, no, this movie is awesome. This is one of the more fun movies that I've seen this year. Honestly. I'm probably 40 or so, 40, 50 movies in at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, this one's in my top 10 of the year.
So it's a grower and a shower.
Wow.
Yeah.
So getting into the full spoilers, we kind of alluded to this about when this movie kind of sucked you in, and for me it was literally the opening credits. I just want to give you a quick rundown of how cool this movie sets it up, its main character. We open to a drink being poured, close up to a drink being poured. It's tequila, and then it's I think tonic, and then some ice, and then the guy just like puts his hand over it and he slams the drink down, and then it like kind of zooms out, he chugs it, picks up a saxophone and just starts laying
That's
a
right.
beat down.
Yeah.
Amazing. This is maybe like one of the best openers I've ever seen to a film.
No, I know. And like the whole opening credits is almost set to like dudes just playing like a jazz band essentially, right? Yeah. Like it's that very like quintessential like Hong Kong jazz bar where it's like it's dark and moody and there's some like garish colors scattered about.
Right.
Everybody looks like they're in pain while they're playing, but they're also in love.
Yes, the two main characters, before one of them dies, are definitely in love in this movie.
There's definitely a queer reading of this movie, and you know what? I was kind of subscribing to it. There's a couple moments where I'm like, I think they're about to kiss.
And just like they're in the middle of the warehouse, like when our two main characters meet each other, he just boops him on the nose and he turns and walks away.
Yeah, exactly. Fun fact, that's how I met my partner. It was during a arms deal that went wrong. She booped me on the nose. That was it.
The rest is history.
Exactly.
Yeah, so apparently that drink is called a tequila slammer, which is a real drink.
Tequila slammer.
A tequila slammer, and apparently it gets you drunk quicker because it mixes all of the carbonation straight up to the top, and you're supposed to chug it.
Oh,
so there's a fun fact for you.
Wow, okay.
Instantly will make you cooler if you do that.
Yeah.
If you do that in my house, instantly will make me a little bit mad because now I've got to clean up tequila.
Yeah, exactly. There's good tequila on this floor now.
Yeah, I feel like the art of drinking like this is kind of lost on us because I feel like our generation doesn't drink this hard anymore.
No, usually for good reason though.
Yeah, like I am now almost in my mid-30s at this point, and this is the first time I've heard of a tequila slammer.
Tequila slammer, yeah. I guess I did want to talk about, there is something that really jumped out about this movie to me, and it was the food and the drinks.
Yeah.
I'm glad it sounds like you picked up on it too. Like it felt like there's a lot of emphasis on like eating and drinking in this movie. Now I know what you're saying, like, Michael, what are you talking about? Like, it's just people eat and drink all the time. It's natural that would be in movies. I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. But it just felt like almost excessive a little bit. Like even that first scene, they're at the tea house. There's all this stuff about like pouring the tea and blah, 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 blah. By the way, there's one guy, like one waiter at that tea house who's like, almost has the kettle high in the air and is pouring there, and I'm like, for part of me, like if I imagine myself like as the patron at that restaurant, I'm like, dude, you don't need to impress me, please. Like
this movie is just like a really big advertisement for Hong Kong as well. Because you're
yeah,
kind of like looking around, and you're like, why are there all these birds here? Like,
right.
I want to be in this place, but also I don't.
Well, like more specifically, there's one moment where Tequila is kind of actually it's the library. He goes to the library to investigate what happened, and he's very clearly eating a McDonald's hamburger. Like even my partner sat up and she's like, "Is he eating like a filet-o-fish from McDonald's? Like what is this?" And I was kind of like, and there's other moments like that too, where like you kind of get like you see kind of like brain. You see kind of brand name items where you're just like, okay, this must be like an interesting point in like Hong Kong's culture where like all these Western influences are starting to like bleed in.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
well, and that's probably John Woo pulling from all of his influence as well. And he's like, well, this is part of Western film is that you just get a bunch of brand deals. Also, I want to say, is this movie the influence for Brad Pitt doing his thing, just eating in every movie as well?
Yeah, that's true, right? More on that point. I don't think smoking has ever looked this cool in a movie before.
I just cards on the table. The character of Tequila, it has to be like top 5 coolest characters of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the guy just oozes charisma.
Mm-hmm.
Except for when he's dealing with his boss.
Yeah, and then suddenly there are a lot of moments where like he'll get into it with either Teresa or his boss, and like his coworkers will just gather outside the window and watch.
Yeah, he's their hero, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple times where he like whirls around to them and he's like, "Are you enjoying the performance?"
And that's where like I mentioned this in the primer, but if you have seen The Wire or you haven't seen The Wire and you've now seen this movie, you need to go check one or the other out because they both kind of play up these characters who are like extraordinarily functional at their jobs and extraordinarily dysfunctional at everything else.
Yeah.
And that's a really fun trope.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, we're kind of like talking about the shootout, like the opening shootout in the restaurant, the tea house is, batshit crazy. It results in everybody, like literal dozens of people dying, including people who are innocent, including his partner, including an undercover police officer.
There's a great moment where Tequila is shaking down some criminal later, and he's like, "You shot my best friend," and then he pauses. He's like, "Also some innocents." And also just the setup too, right? Like they show up with like everybody. It's like take your bird to work day. Like everyone has like birds in cages with them.
So I looked that up because I was like, this has to be a thing, right? So tea houses, traditionally old men used to bring their birds to socialize in the morning to tea houses. So they'd have a nice tea with their bird and all the birds would be chirping around, and that was a thing in Hong Kong.
That does sound kind of pleasant.
Yeah.
So just, again, as a Westerner watching this, I was like, what is going on, right? And of course, our hero has like set up kind of like a 2-way mirror in his birdhouse so that he can sort of like position it and like watch the people behind him. And then it's just a bunch of like hooligans with their bird. And then finally things break and it turns out that they were like smuggling guns in their bird cages.
Yeah.
And then you're right. If that setup sounds a little over the top to you, I've got news for you. It's only going up from here. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually something that when I was doing my research, that I really appreciated about John Woo's approach to this movie is, and it sounded like that's how he approaches most of his movies, is he actually films them in chronological order because he's like, okay, I've done something really crazy and wild. How do I now up the ante in the next scene, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I want to just, before we kind of wrap up the scene, or I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about in the scene, but so this scene, obviously I was in by this and I was having a riot during the shootout because this is the kind of scene where you watch it, or the kind of movie where you watch it with people because you can kind of like talk as things are happening.
Yeah.
Because it's just crazy action.
It's
for
almost
like
like
10 minutes at a time.
It's like a spectator sport at that point. Yeah.
Like I said to Jess, I was like, he has not reloaded once, and all of the villains are like constantly reloading.
Hilarious.
And it's awesome. He's just like walking through the carnage. At one point I said to Jess, right at the end, I was like, and he hasn't even dropped his toothpick, and at that moment he spit it out, and I stood up and clapped.
Absolute cinema. Yeah, the toothpick. I forgot about the toothpick
It
in
was
the opening
beautiful.
scene. Yeah.
I could not have come up with a better sequence myself.
No, nobody can. Nobody ever has or ever will. Yeah.
It was beautiful.
There's a great moment where like he's got his partner with him, and there's kind of an aside where he's like, "So, like, Joe, how old's your boy now?" And he's like, "Oh, that's great." And then his friend ends up getting shot during the big shootout, and they've sort of like cornered one of the bad guys in like the pantry or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I forget his partner's name. He's like, "Partner, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Like, here, I'll go in." And then Tequila,
so Tequila goes in first.
and he kind of like kicks him in the back as though to be like, "No, I'm going in first because you're hurt." And like, there's something like weirdly sweet about that movie, despite again how ridiculous it was.
Yep.
Right. And then his partner gets shot, etc. I mean, it has to, right?
Yeah.
As soon as it's like, I almost expected him to be like, "Oh, how old's your kid? You're 3 days away from retirement." Yeah. Like, yeah, that guy's a goner.
100%. And then so we get this awesome setup with Tequila, and there's just the kind of tangential world building around this one character I found really compelling. And then we kind of get a quick cut over to Alan and our introduction to Alan, which is exactly like you said, right? It's the book setup, I believe. He also then takes a hit out on one of the guys who's betrayed their clan.
Uncle Hoy, yeah.
But I mean, just the introduction to Alan as this young assassin, I instantly was like, oh, this character's very interesting, because he kind of, our immediate like perception of him is that this is a psychotic killing machine. And he just oozes that cool as well, but also like scary cool.
Well, it's also like we see him like wandering into the library, and it's like the camera is like the camera is almost like following him as though he's like, a sexy woman in a movie. And like there's a great moment too where like the receptionist looks up and like just stares at him, and I'm like, oh, there it is, right?
Yeah.
And then he retrieves a gun from the collected works of William Shakespeare, shoots him, and then puts it back. Which, by the way, like, just incredible, right?
Yeah.
Truly, truly incredible. And then how Tequila is able to identify the book from the blood spatter and find it.
That's, again, one of those scenes that's utterly ridiculous, and only in a movie like this does it absolutely work.
Yeah, like in any other movie, I'd be like, okay, surely someone would have been smart enough to like be like, oh, hey, look at this, right? But Tequila just, the way he does it,
just kind of like, he wanders down the hall in the exact same pattern and speed and everything, mannerisms that this character has that you could not possibly do, right? And then he just kind of wanders over to the exact row of bookshelves, and these dozens of bookshelves, like slides his hand the same way along these books and finds the exact book where the gun was hidden.
Yeah.
It's perfect. No notes.
Yeah, exactly. Any other movie, I would roll my eyes at this, but this movie somehow gets away with it.
So hard into it, right?
Yeah. Maybe there's a writing lesson there that like, if you're going to do something kind of ridiculous, you have to just lean harder into it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, I think having just random silliness in an otherwise serious movie is kind of, you got to tonally nail it. And this movie is, okay, we're going to lean into the bit, this hard-boiled bit, and we're going to just jack it up to the maximum possible insanity and run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then we kind of see Alan and what his life looks like. He's sort of like the right-hand man of Uncle Hoy.
Yeah.
Who's sort of, maybe we should talk about Uncle Hoy, because he sort of, he is a big player in the early parts of this movie. He's sort of like this kind of, we open with him in his garden. He's peeling a pear or an apple or something.
Yeah.
He warmly receives Alan. Alan, at this point, we don't know it yet, but he's actually an undercover cop who's sort of like infiltrated this whole place.
Yeah, which I really like as a detail that we don't learn until quite a ways into the movie.
Yeah, like almost at like the midpoint or like halfway through. You can tell though Alan's conflicted in that, he kind of keeps saying to Uncle Hoy, like, he keeps saying Hawaii. He's like, why don't you go to Hawaii? Like, just go to Hawaii. Like, have a good time in Hawaii. And Uncle Hoy's like, why would I go to Hawaii? Like, everything's fine. I'm not about to be betrayed. So Yeah, yeah. And then we meet what's his butt? Johnny
Johnny Wong.
I keep wanting to say Johnny Sins, but that's a male porn star. But
Jesus. I was thinking that was a name from Sin City, but that makes sense as well.
it could have also been from that. But yeah, so then we meet Johnny Wong. So who's sort of the main villain of this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the big bad, right? Like he's the guy pulling all the strings. He's not necessarily the most badass character in this movie.
No.
That's one of his henchmen. And again, this is a movie that if you've seen The Raid or if you haven't seen The Raid, very similar structures in this movie to the characters and how things work. Like the big bad is actually more the henchman than the main villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is actually, even just getting treading on the effects and filming, like that was a character decision that John Woo decided, hey, you know what? This main villain isn't maybe as tough as he needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
So let's incorporate another character that would be his underling, that would be that kind of ultimate badass that our two main characters are going to have to fight.
Mad Dog, yeah.
Mad
and
Dog.
By the way, like, what a sinister looking man.
Yes.
Like, holy crap. At one point in the movie, he gets like one side of his face sort of scarred, and I'm like, oh, he's even scarier now.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, he was like a stunt performer. He was in some movies in the 70s, I guess, as well. He was going to be the choreographer for this movie, and John Woo was like, why don't you just be in the movie?
Yeah, exactly. So, and what a great choice. Like, the guy he's like, he doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but performance-wise, he's incredible.
Yeah, he's menacing, and that's all you need him to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like the setup of the meeting between Tequila and Alan with the whole kind of, this big set piece. The second big set piece in this movie is in the warehouse, right?
The warehouse,
which,
yeah.
as a side note, the kind of the sequence of them cutting to the transition of the motorcycles is just top tier cinema. Like when they're in the underground lab, and it's kind of like, it's almost like a music video, where they kind of all walk out in unison, and then it's cutting between them walking and them on the motorcycles already.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate it.
There's a lot of like, part of me, and I say this lovingly, that the editor of this movie needed to calm down a few times. There's a lot of cross cutting. There's also one thing that really made me laugh is there's a lot of scene transitions where like we'll freeze frame specifically on Tequila, then dissolve into the next scene. And it got to a point where I just started laughing at it.
It's great.
Again, lovingly.
Yeah. It's magic. It's the kind of stuff that is like, somebody who watches a lot of movies, you pick up on it because it's just a little different. Like it just feels a little bit more.
It's extra to like, I don't know if people still say extra, but it's a little extra.
Yeah. It's just those little details that I really appreciate in this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so they set up these two to meet each other, and you know what? Even at that point, like I want to talk quickly about the characterization of Alan, because up until this point, like he just seems like an absolute killing machine. He's got this like he's very suave, I would say.
Well dressed.
Yeah,
he kind of contrasts with Tequila, and that where Tequila's kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Like Alan's just very composed and in control.
Yeah, and then and that builds up to the sequence where he has to choose between his old boss and Johnny Wong, right? And that's a scene that is going to maybe stick with me for a little longer than maybe some of the other parts of this movie, because Alan has to make a choice in this moment, and you can see that the choice of killing Uncle Ahoy, it really affects him. Like, and it's the first moment in the movie where you're like, oh wow, there's something more going on with this character than I thought.
Well, there's even a great moment where earlier on, so they've raided this lab in this warehouse, and Johnny Wong is basically like, okay, now I want you to kill Uncle Hoy, and Alan seems genuinely surprised. He's like, well, like, we've already ruined him. Like, I don't need to kill him. And he's like, no, I need to, like, finish the fight, whatever. And then Uncle Hoy shows up, and he sees Alan, who he kind of seems to have a lot of affection for with Johnny Wong. And he sort of pulls Alan aside and is basically like, yeah, I knew this would happen, but, like, I want you to shoot me. Yeah, he's like, don't let that, like, I'm not going to let that, like, piece of shit over there shoot me. I need you to do it. And Alan's still, like, very conflicted about it, to the point where Uncle Hoy sort of basically goads him into doing it. So Alan does it, And then not only that, he shoots all of his like surviving henchmen.
Yeah, but the amount of emotion, like Tony Leung here is, this is maybe the best scene of acting in this movie. Like, you can see all of these conflicting emotions on Tony Leung's face. Like, the man's about to break into tears, and just the anger, that transition to like anger and just grabbing the gun from one of the other henchmen and just shooting everybody. Loved it.
Yeah,
So good. And a movie doesn't need that kind of characterization, but it really added something to my enjoyment of this movie.
Yeah, and like at this point, again, we still don't even really know he's an undercover cop. So then we find that out later, which just adds kind of like another wrinkle to his whole deal, right? So
well, and that's where, again, when Alan and Tequila meet in the warehouse and all of the smoke and chaos, and there's kind of this, like, you really don't know why these two characters don't shoot each other. It kind of feels like this game knows game kind of thing where they kind of just nod to each other, where it's like, we'll see you in the next fight kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah, like good well, like they sort of come up on each other, they point their guns at each other's like throats basically, right? They don't shoot. It's just a long, tense, very homoerotic moment. Yeah. And then at first it's like, I thought I heard one of the gun click. So I'm like, oh no, like Tequila's out of bullets. But then Alan gets away and he opens his revolver and he's got like a full chamber in there.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of like, yeah, it's like, it's confusing, but in a good way. Because you kind of just leave that scene like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, what was that?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then, Tequila being Tequila, kind of, it dawns on him that this character might be more than meets the eye as well, right? And that's when he asks the police chief if Alan is an undercover cop, right?
Well, let's not mince words. He threatens the police chief into revealing him. Tequila and the police chief have such a caustic working relationship.
It's fantastic.
It's beautiful. Yeah. At first, there's also this other stuff going on where like, and again, I want to give this movie its flowers. Like, this movie isn't stupid. There's plot stuff going on that like you have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Like, Teresa, his ex-girlfriend of sorts, keeps receiving flowers, and he's, PO'd about this, obviously, right? But then she's doing this thing where she's sort of like, there's coded messages on the flowers she's receiving, which she then hands off to her boss. You see him typing it into like a database and it shows like it's giving him coded messages. So at first you're just like, okay, what is this? Like, what's going on? Right. So anyways, yeah. And then eventually Tequila and Alan have their big confrontation on his, by the way, if you didn't think Alan could get any cooler, he also lives on a houseboat.
Yeah, on a yacht.
On a yacht, basically. Right? So then they kind of confront each other there. And Tequila, again, he's good at his job. He's able to piece together what's going on.
Yep.
That Alan isn't just like a common assassin. He's actually an undercover cop who's clearly been in like deep cover for a long, long time.
Yeah, and again, this kind of reminded me of The Departed in that way as well, right? Where if you've seen that movie, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is basically recruited as soon as he graduates police college, and is deep undercover, and he has to do a bunch of dirty work to stay undercover, right? Whereas Alan, the things that Alan has had to do have clearly had like a deep psychological impact on him as well.
Absolutely, right? There's it's difficult to remember a lot of the dialogue because it's all so ridiculous, but there's a moment where like, they ask him like, well, where do you want to go? He's like, where do you want to go after all this? And he basically says, I want to go to Antarctica. And he's like, what? And at first you think it's a joke, right?
Yeah.
Which it kind of is. He's like, why would you want to go to Antarctica? And he's like, well, it's always light there. The sun never sets there, which I don't know if that's true or not, but whatever.
Well, half the year it would.
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually. And he basically just says, after so long living in darkness, I'd like to be in a place where it's always light. And you're kind of like, wow, okay, right? A little on the nose, but this movie gets away with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got origami characters for every person he's killed.
Yeah, he makes a little origami crane you're right.
Yeah, which comes back later in the movie, which is fantastic, again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this movie really rewards paying attention. And it's those little details, and that's exactly why I said on future rewatches, I think I'm going to get a lot of out of future rewatches of this movie, because it's those kind of little details that I didn't pick up on at first. Like the coded message thing, I was kind of lost on me a little bit. Like I wasn't quite clear.
Well, also
that.
because like the coded messages are themselves almost riddles,
right?
You know, like it's something. This isn't entirely correct, but one of the coded messages is like, "Don't let the tiger bite the tail" or something like that, and you're like, what? Like,
yeah. Now on future rewatches, I might understand what the hell is going on.
What is funny though is that despite all of these like clandestine machinations, the chief and Alan still like meet up every so often, and it looks like they're just in public, like in broad daylight. At one point, the chief even gives him a lighter for his birthday or something.
Yeah,
which is, I don't know, like it's kind of a sweet moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you have to kind of do that work with your undercover cops to get information out of them, and you have to find safe ways to do it, right? Which again, going back to like something like The Departed, like that's part of the excitement in undercover police films like that, where it's like, oh, there's that risk of getting caught at any time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel what's really cool about this movie that I don't know if a lot of other films have quite done it like this is this movie is obviously building towards a very big set piece, and there's probably like 10-15 minutes of really big setup towards that. And you really don't know how it's going to all come together either. Like, cuz obviously we get into the hospital and there's a lot happening there. There's a police officer who's down. We've got both Alan and Tequila.
There's also another informant we haven't mentioned yet, Foxy, who is in the hospital right now.
Exactly. And this is at this point like Tequila and Alan are working together, and we know that there's stuff going down, and it feels like, this is the buildup, right? And like I said, there's probably like 45 minutes left in this movie, at least at this point. And then you get the entrance of Johnny Wong and his gang, and you're like, oh wow, this is gonna go down.
Like right here in the hospital.
Yeah,
right
here in the hospital. And then and even at that point, that's when Alan and Tequila find the underground weapon base inside of the hospital.
Which, by the way, I was kind of like too. I was like, so the only thing I knew about this movie going into it that I kind of half recalled is that there's supposedly a really big shootout in the hospital. So I'm like, okay, there's going to be a shootout. And then at one point, wait, the evil lair is under the hospital. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, sure.
It's kind of genius. Like, it's kind of really fun and fresh that, something so insane.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, we're going to hide it in the last place that anyone would look.
A public hospital.
Hospital, yeah.
Exactly.
And even in that sequence, it kind of does this like MacGyver kind of like slow down where these two characters have to like figure their way through all these locked doors.
Yeah.
And something that I've never seen before is cuffs being used as a wrench.
Yeah, that was when he first, like, they're trying to figure out how they can get through this door, and he sees like a screw or something on one of the pipes, and he whips out some handcuffs, and I was like, what is he gonna do? Arrest the pipe? And then I'm like, oh, okay.
It's really inventive. It like genuinely, there's so many little things like that in this movie that are really rewarding.
Right, and then like even how then they drain the gunpowder from their bullets, sort of like make a little bomb out of it, and then shoot the pipe. Which, again, you can argue that the examples are just like a little bit ridiculous and a little over the top.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate how they showed that like Tequila isn't like a himbo. Like, he's good at his job.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a smart guy.
Very smart guy.
Yeah.
He just doesn't really care about consequences as long as, he gets what he wants in the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fantastic.
As long as he can gun down like 40 people while sliding down a banister.
Yeah. Yeah, so then, we build up to the hospital, and then we get our just build up towards to that.
The longest action scene of all time.
Yeah, we get the 5-minute one-take hallway shootout, which is just crazy.
Beautiful, yeah.
And I was rewatching it today, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like, I don't even know if I caught this because this movie is so wild. But rewatching it this morning, I was like, oh yeah, this is like, I'm kind of shocked that this all worked the way that it did, right? because, you know, they're walking through the hallways and there's characters jumping out and there's stuff exploding, the shrapnel and everything everywhere. It feels like it feels there's a little bit of risk involved in this. Like it feels like these characters or these actors are put in a little bit of danger doing these kind of stuff.
Well, more on that later,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But apparently they also shot that in one take. Like,
Yeah.
not just one take, but like they had
The first one. Yeah.
Yeah, they had one chance to do this right, and they just nailed it somehow.
Yeah, it's super impressive, right? It's really visceral. Like, and again, I think that a movie like this or a movie like The Matrix wouldn't have been made if a movie like this hadn't existed before.
Yeah.
Because there's something chaotic and messy about the violence in this movie, and The Matrix looked at that and went, okay, well, let's do that, but let's just slow it down and try to make it even cooler than this.
Right. But again, you're right, it's visceral and exciting, but it's also preposterous.
Yeah.
And it like again, it revels in how absurd it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. And then, you know, that kind of leads into Alan shooting the cop at the in the elevator. And again, that's another moment where things slow down for a half second in that moment. And I was like, oh, there's some really, really compelling character work happening now. Because this is really when, you know, Tequila becomes a mentor towards Alan, right? And it's the first time that these two characters, like, you know, like both of them have something to maybe take from each other.
Yeah, to learn from each other.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things that just really enhanced the viewing experience for me.
Absolutely.
The next note on my on my notes here is about Tequila being peed on. So
yeah, that's so what's funny is that when we're first in the hospital, they keep like showing like the camera keeps lingering on the maternity ward to the point where we're like, why do they keep showing these babies? Like, is this like an artsy thing? Are they trying to make a point about like the innocence, returning to the innocence of childhood?
Well, maybe even a little bit on that. That's a motif of John Woo, right?
Fair enough.
But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Right. No, it's okay. But then one thing I did like is that Teresa isn't just like this love interest. She actually has something to do in the climax. So when the bad guys storm the hospital, she's in charge of like, I got to get these babies out of here, right? Because this place is going up in flames. So like she has to like improvise and coordinate and all this stuff, right? Like at one point they're even like stuffing babies in like luggage bags or something and like ferrying them out the window.
Yeah.
So at one point though, she is just like, I forgot one of the babies. Tequila has to run back, grabs them, and is like shooting all these guys with this baby in his hand. Yeah. Which, true, absolute cinema, right?
Yeah. And I mean, even leading up to that, this movie is utterly ridiculous. And, you know, it feels like our characters are maybe a little bit indestructible. But at the same time, there's also like, there's a real urgency. There's a real like fear for these kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for all the innocent people around here, because, you know, especially early on in the movie, we see an entire restaurant of people just get gunned down.
Well, this is jumping ahead a bit. Like there is also a moment where Johnny Woo is trying to get at Tequila and he guns down a bunch of innocent hospital staff.
Yeah.
To the point where even Mad Dog, who's kind of like the scariest motherfucker in the movie, actually says like, hey, like, why did you do that? Like, that wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The principles of Mad Dog are somewhat insane, but also again, it just adds that little bit of zest to the characters.
I guess so. That moment took me like a little off guard because we never see him express much concern for anybody else. But to be fair, that's kind of the only time we see him sort of interacting with like, I guess what you like, for lack of a better term, normal people. Civilians, yeah, because every other time he's either murdering informants, murdering cops, or killing gang members, right? Yeah. Part of me was like, you know, Mad Dog objects to that moment. Part of me kind of interpreted that as it's not so much he has a moral objection, it's more of like a professional objection. Yeah. Almost like, hey, like that's sloppy handiwork. Like that's poor craftsmanship. Right. Like that wasn't necessary. Yeah. And Johnny Woo is basically says something to the effect of like, I'm Johnny Woo and like nothing's going to stop me. So then they kind of shoot each other. And that's sort of, it's always interesting to me when like there's two villains and they kill each other instead of the hero killing them.
Right.
Like that also happened in Django, if you recall that. So like it's not wholly satisfying, but it's not wholly unsatisfying either.
Yeah.
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, we do get our just desserts for Johnny Wong. Like he is ultimately defeated by Tequila and Allen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that's the way that that Mad Dog goes down.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I didn't hate it. I just thought it was, you're right. It added a little bit of zest to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even just like the way this movie ends, like Johnny Wong just has such a disregard for all human life, like even his own. Like
Yeah.
he basically like is like, well, we have enough explosives in here that we could blow everybody, including myself, to Kingdom Come. And you know what?
And
like,
you know what? I'm
prepared to do that.
actually, I would love to do that. And
Yeah.
he just starts flipping, which there's this content creator I used to listen to, Spoonie. He had this joke from one of his old reviews where it's like, sometimes you just want to blow up yourself and everything you own.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. This movie's great. I've had an absolute blast with
Yeah,
this thing.
I was thinking about what this episode would shape into, and I was thinking like it's probably just gonna be me and Blake gushing over all the cool shit that happened, and I wasn't totally wrong.
No, it's hard to critique this movie. My only critique is that it could be 10 minutes to 20 minutes too long.
Yeah, Nayo, I have a confession to make. So my partner and I watched this a little late into the evening, and as you well know, I'm getting up there in my years, Blake. I didn't think it was possible, but I sort of nodded off during the big hospital shootout. I woke up and was like, rewind it, right?
Yeah.
But I was kind of like, I didn't think I could fall asleep during a hail of gunfire. But I will just say, I do kind of think the hospital shootout, not the 5-minute one take, because that is truly incredible even now.
Yep.
I do feel like that whole like third act, I would say it's 10 minutes too long. I agree.
Yeah, I think that there's a little bit there. I think the lead up to that is there's maybe 5 minutes. Like I don't know what you cut, but there's a lot of loose threads going on in this world.
I don't know that you cut any of the plot stuff. I think because, you know, as magnificent as this movie is, there does kind of get to a point of like, there's a specific point where I do feel like diminishing returns kicked in, where it's like, okay, how many more people do I have to watch get shot, right?
Right.
Now, like, you would never cut like Tequila saving the baby,
Yep.
or even getting pissed on, because that's just incredible, right? It's funny. So in the English dub, when he gets pissed on, he's like, well, thanks for that, you little piss pot.
That's so great.
Yeah, incredible, right? So
apparently the reason why that's in here as a side note is because John Woo said that anytime he holds a baby, it pees on him. So
it's right what you know, right? Yeah. You know, just on the pacing side, one thing that I actually appreciated with this movie is that, like, when it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as the final tension, it's almost reminded me of Jaws in that, like, the second the tension is resolved, it's like, all right, movie's over.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it's
Go home.
Yeah, it's like good practice for the most part. Like, I feel like a lot of movies nowadays sometimes drag it out a little bit too much, where there's like a denouement where like 6 months later everyone's doing great, right? Now, granted, a lot of the times you need that because it's very emotionally satisfying to like see the characters where they are and, you know, that everybody's safe and happy. But like this movie, it's just hospital blows up, Johnny Wong's dead, and then it's literally like a minute later the movie's over, right?
Yeah.
We get a shot of Alan sailing off and like disposing of all his paper cranes, and I was like, that is all we needed.
Yeah.
That is all.
Just an emotional payoff.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Well, and they do kind of, there's a cool misdirection where Alan gets shot. Then we see the chief burning his file, which we see him do multiple times, to the point where you'd think like the office administrator would be like, okay, you need to stop burning the files. Like,
the fire alarm's going off.
Yeah, come on, man. But I will say though that burning a file in like one of those like wire trash cans, I'm like, it does look fucking cool.
It does. It always does.
Maybe if I'm ever disposing of a manuscript, or like, no, not disposing of a manuscript. I would never burn one of my own manuscripts, but like, you know, like burning my lecture notes at the end of a year, I'll just do that and then instantly get kicked out of my duplex or whatever for setting off all the fire alarms.
Fun fact, somebody did that in my first year of university and burnt down the room.
You don't want to play with fire, right?
No.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But
you end up in jail.
yeah, actually. So
It's 2026.
oh man, it's 2026. We left that shit in 2025, right? No, but what I was trying to say is there's a slight disconnect, or excuse me. What I was trying to say is that there's a slight misdirection in the final minute where we see the chief burning Alan's file, and you're kind of like,
dead.
you're like, oh shit, he's dead. But then we see him sailing off, and you're like, oh, good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, as you know, absurd as this movie is, I was genuinely gutted with the thought of Alan being killed.
Yeah, same.
Right? To the point where that one shot of him sailing off, I like breathed an audible sigh of relief.
Yeah, it feels good. And actually, that was something that that everyone had to fight for.
Mhm.
John Woo really wanted Alan to die at the end of this movie.
Which, yeah. Which, I did a little bit of cursory research into this movie. By the way, I've said this before. You can tell how much I liked a movie whether or not I bother looking into it.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that John Woo went into this movie wanting to make like a really gritty crime thriller,
Yes.
but along the way, it's almost like he just couldn't help himself.
Mhm.
He couldn't help but make a ridiculous crime thriller.
He couldn't help but make a John Woo movie because
Yeah.
this is like apparently this is all of the different strands of John Woo-isms
Mhm.
all pulled together in one.
And you know what? Like, I like that. I even find that sometimes myself with writing where I'll go into something intending to do like something that I've never done before, but along the way, like my own instincts and obsessions and interests just pull me towards a direction I wasn't anticipating.
Yeah, your voice. Your
Yeah,
voice comes through
yeah.
in the end,
Your
right?
voice. So honestly, I probably wouldn't have wanted to watch his original vision, right? Like a Hong Kong Dirty Harry movie.
Yeah.
Now, a Hong Kong Dirty Harry movie on steroids and on crack, I'll watch that. So, yeah.
100%. So sequels, prequels, and oh, actually, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's everything. Like, the screenplay itself is almost flawless in that, like, there's just enough plot to keep
What
you
little
going.
screenplay there was.
Yeah, it's almost an exercise in minimalism. Like, you know, it's mostly the plot is just an excuse to take us from one set piece to another. But what little is there is like truly excellent.
You know what this kind of reminded me of, this filmmaking style, is oh my god, why did I just blank on his name? Werner Herzog.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of like this guerrilla filmmaking style where it's like, let's let the movie like come to us, basically.
Yeah,
let's
like,
not go to the movie.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like Stephen King, his metaphor for writing is like you're excavating a fossil, right?
Mhm.
It's like we're just going to find it along the way.
Yeah. And that can be really disastrous.
It often is, but sometimes it really works.
Yeah, and in this case, it certainly really worked. Because, you know, when they started filming, like the first scene that they filmed was the scene in the tea room, and we're already in effects and filming apparently.
There we go, people. That's what we get paid the big bucks, because
transition.
that was a smooth transition.
And you know, no, now I've lost my train of thought. And in the tea room, you know, they filmed that because they had just heard that this building was going to be demolished, and he was like, "Oh, I can work in this."
Oh yeah, I want to shoot something here before we do it, right?
Yeah.
I don't even think they had a script at that point.
No, they didn't.
I think they were just like, let's tea room explosions, pew
Yeah.
pew pew.
Yeah. And you know, like you said, the original script for this was a lot more gritty and realistic. And the reason why this movie even exists is because apparently John Woo was getting a lot of criticism for making glamorized gangster movies, and
Right.
he said, "Well, let's do this from the police perspective again, or this time."
Mhm.
And I really appreciate that, because I don't know that I'm always like a big police procedural drama guy. Not really necessarily my thing.
Yeah.
But when it's kind of done in this way, I'm so in.
Well, and again, this movie is smart in that it really blurs the lines between factions
Mhm.
to the point where, like, it almost like, you know, what I would have my personal working title for this movie would have been like Cops and Robbers, because that's literally what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's just this big elaborate game between the authorities and the criminals, to the point where, like, they almost become two sides of the same coin and how they mirror each other.
Yeah, like both of them have their set of codes, what little there is, and both of them are willing to just do insane acts of violence to get to their ends. And they don't really care about the consequences of that violence.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, they used more than 200 guns in the movie. And
Wow.
They had to import them all from England because of weird Hong Kong rules back in the day. And then the Hong Kong police had to actually assess every single weapon.
Wow.
Before shooting it. So they shot also over 100,000 rounds of blank ammo in this movie.
I'm surprised. I thought it would have been more, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean the death count was somewhere in like the 300s for this movie.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah.
What I found actually really interesting with this movie, and kind of going back to what I was saying about this movie being found, is apparently John Woo does a lot of improvisation as well, and he lets people find their characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, the Alan living was something that wasn't in the original script or John Woo didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
Alan crying during the scene where he has to kill Uncle Hoy wasn't originally planned, and Alan was like, I think that my character would really be conflicted about this.
Right.
And again, that's one of the highlights of the movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
Even stuff like the staircase slide in the tea room was something that Chow Yun-fat came up with, where he was like, oh, this would probably look really cool.
Oh, yeah. And wow, he was right. Yeah.
Apparently, while they were filming in the tea house, there was a lot of chaos around this part of the set because apparently all the neighbors were really unhappy about all the shooting. 5 days of just like constant
pow, pow,
fire.
pow. Yeah, I would complain after a while.
And at one point, the local triads even showed up and were like, you need to pay us to give you protection to film here, basically. Like, it was chaos.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Really reminds me of like Mad Max Fury Road kind of chaos, wherever, like, I don't know if anyone on this set was kind of like, I don't know how this is going to come together, but it kind of feels like, there's stuff going on.
I feel like every movie is just like a giant carnival, and it's kind of off. Sometimes it pans out and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of just have to, it's like an act of faith.
Absolutely it is, yeah. I mean, you kind of have to trust in your director, right? You have to trust that their vision and the people that they've pulled together to make a movie ultimately comes together in the way that they envision it to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's sometimes a little hard too, because sometimes you do have to rein in your directors a little bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, I mean, I hate to say this, but like thinking about Stanley Kubrick, I'm like, he probably didn't need all 127 takes, right? You probably didn't need to psychologically torture Shelley Duvall, but
I was
here
going
we
to
are.
say Tom Cruise, and I was like, well,
yeah, maybe. No, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. But even like in this movie, like John Woo, apparently the sequence with all the explosions and tequila running down the hall with the baby, he didn't think the explosions were close enough to Chow Yun-fat, so he made him like run, and he did the explosions himself, like right behind him, and Chow Yun-fat was not happy about it.
Well, I think it singed his clothes and stuff. Like, it was like a hair away from killing him.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, so he was really running for his life.
He's like, ah! I think it's reported that afterwards he just screamed like, John's trying to kill me. Which, I mean, what else are you supposed to say when all that's going down?
Yeah, and did you see the what happened to Tony Leung as well in this movie?
No.
So during the big shootout between him and Mad Dog, there was a shard of glass that penetrated Tony Leung's eye.
Wow.
And he had to take the day off to get the glass out of his eye. And you could actually see the shot of that is still in the movie. If you're paying attention to the shootout between the two of them, there's a moment where Tony Leung grabs his eye, and that's the moment where...
I do remember that now.
Yeah.
Was his eye like okay after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
nice.
As far as I know. And what I didn't know or didn't catch during my watch of this movie was all of the voices are dubbed over by the actors.
Oh, interesting. Kind of like
kind of like
spaghetti western style. Yeah,
exactly. And John Woo basically was like, I just wanted to save money on setting up boom mics and other sound around the sets. So he was like, I just found it easier in all the chaos to just dub everything over after.
Interesting. So again, you listen to the subtitles. I watched the dub. The dub, like I'm not. Sometimes the voices were inconsistent in that it seemed like characters would have accents one scene and then drop them in the next scene.
No.
Yeah,
That's really bad.
Again, this movie's ridiculous, so I didn't mind. But there were definitely a few line reads where I'm like, "What?"
Oh, I wonder if what happened. There's because this movie is set in Hong Kong. There are moments in the sub where characters speak in English. And so I wonder if they just use those English snippets of dialogue in those sequences.
Oh, yeah, maybe. You wouldn't know.
Yeah, it could be those inconsistencies there. So it's possible.
Cool.
Score of this movie absolutely rocks. Created by a jazz musician, Michael Gibbs. I don't think the producers on John Woo's last movie wanted jazz on their movie, because it's actually not really a Hong Kong. It's actually not really a Hong Kong thing.
Oh, okay. That's another Western influence.
Yeah, and so I'm glad it's in there. I think actually more movies need jazz like this.
It really suited the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just established Chow Yun-fat's character extraordinarily well. Like I knew as soon as this movie started, I was like, I know that who this character is. I get him.
Yeah.
And I just want to see him blow shit up for the next 2 hours.
Yeah. Maybe play the saxophone if he feels like it.
Yeah. But yeah, there's actually there's a during the promotional screenings of this movie, the movie had different jazz in it, but they couldn't get all the rights to it. So it'd be really cool to get those rights to those songs because it sounded like it was very haunting.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the legacy of this movie, we've already talked about a lot of the legacy of this movie and like all of the movies that I don't think could have been made without this movie. And there's so much praise for this movie by many directors. Again, it's one of my favorite movies of this year. I think at this point, so
it was a ride.
Yeah,
it was a ride. I was left very satisfied at the end.
Yes, very, very satisfied is the right way to put this. Like, and personal reviews on the partner factor. Like, obviously, we had a blast watching this.
Yeah, we did too. Right? It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and that's what I want out of a movie. That's
out of
what
a movie, yeah.
That's what I want out of a movie. Is I either want to feel something or I want to have a good time.
Yeah, I want to feel like I want to feel something profound, or I want to be exhilarated.
Yeah,
yeah.
And this movie has a little bit of both.
A little bit, yeah, yeah,
so, yeah. I think that's where sometimes Hollywood movies are kind of missing one or both of those elements.
Again, this movie really made me want to rewatch RRR. Because RRR, like, they're definitely kind of in conversation with each other.
Yeah.
Honestly, I want more ridiculous action movies.
Yeah.
And again, I keep bringing up John Wick because that's kind of our closest point of comparison. But, like, yeah, I want more John Wicks or, like, movies like Sisu, you know, where it's just ridiculous action over the top.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is, like, movies are one form of entertainment. And when you think of cinema, like, there are certain things that film can do that other mediums cannot do, right? And this visual style that John Woo has, you couldn't read. You couldn't see in a play.
No.
And so that's where it's like, yeah, okay, well, let's lean into the bit. Let's lean into what makes film great.
Right. Let's play to our medium strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what John Woo just inherently understands that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And I think that's it for Hardboiled.
That's it. It was not a tough egg to crack. Boom, got it.
You did.
I got my egg joke in there.
Nice. Okay. Well, then, as always, tell your dad. We will see you next time, and I believe our next episode is going to be Slapshot. I think.
We were gonna do Slapshot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'm almost positive I have seen Slapshot before, and I cannot for the life of me remember anything.
I'm almost positive I've never seen it, so
cool.
We're in good company.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. We haven't done Paul Newman in years.
Yeah, he's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.